Welcome to another episode of Dad Can We Talk? I am your host, Anthony Ray, and this is episode 105. And today I am with a guy that I met his wife a few months back. She reached out to me. She gave me one of his cards, and I just checked out his website and I saw some of his stuff, and I was like, very intriguing, very intriguing. I think this is a great candidate for the podcast. So, of course, if y'all know me, I'm gonna reach out. I'm gonna send that email because you know I'm always looking for new dads. I'm always looking to learn from other people, man. So it was only right that I reached out to this guy. But before I get into his intro, I need y'all to do the simple thing, man. Go to the YouTube channel at Dad Can We Talk and hit subscribe. That's the greatest way to support the podcast. I need y'all to do that for me. If you really support me, if you love me, go and do that. Y'all can find me on Facebook at Anthony Rashad Ray. You can find me on Instagram at Dad Can We Talk. You can also find me on Facebook at Dad Can We Talk. You can find me on Twitter at Dad Can We Talk. You can find the podcast streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and also on YouTube. Or you could just simply go to Google and type in Dad Can We Talk, and it's gonna pop up. It's random podcast websites that it even pops up on. So yeah, you can go to Google or simply go to dadcanwetalk.com and you'll find all the info there, the YouTube and everything. You can also donate to the podcast there. And before I start, also listen, y'all, listen. March 26th, we are doing our second annual Dad Walk. So I just found the location about a week and a half ago. So we're going to be in Gainesville, Florida at Canapple Park off of Tower Road. So what we're going to do that day, we're going to walk from the park to the Walgreens right off of 20th Ave, turn around, come back to the park. When we come back to the park, we'll have some food, some drinks. We'll have footballs, soccer balls, the basketballs and stuff. It's a playground there. So we just want to go back to the park. We're gonna fellowship, we're gonna mingle, man. We're gonna have a Sunday fun day. So that'll be March 26th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you want to come out, please come out, support, come meet some new dads, come meet some new people, man. For all my dads out there, bring the kids, bring the wives, whoever, man. I just want it to be like a family day. So March 26th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., Canapple Park, Gainesville, Florida. Simple. So yeah, without further ado, man, like I said, I'm here with a guy that I can't wait to talk with. He's born in the Bahamas. He's a 9-year Navy veteran. He's the oldest of 9 children, first in his family to graduate high school. He's the author of Majest and Royal Presents Affirmations. He serves as the college success coach for the Education Foundation of Alachua County. And his name is none other than Kerby Hypolite. I hope I say the last name right.
Yeah, you said it perfect. You got it on one take. Perfect. Love it. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you, Anthony, just for having me on, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. I can't wait to talk. What you got for me?
Oh yeah, man. First question is it's the same as it is on every episode. First question I got for you today is, what was your relationship like with your dad? Talk about that.
Boy, you hit me deep already. So first, to kind of give you a background about it, I am Haitian American. Okay, so my parents are actually originated from Haiti.
Okay.
That's their hometown. So that's a completely different culture versus the American culture. So my dad definitely came to America young age and then brought me to America. Now it's a little crazy dynamic. Man, because I lived with my stepmother and my dad. I never lived with my mother. My mother was the one in Bahamas. So basically, they were doing their little shicey stuff, whatever. But then my relationship with my dad growing up, to be honest, it was the years I remember, it was difficult. You know what I'm saying? Because I had I struggled a lot with a lot of insecurities, and I struggled with a lot of like pain. But the most thing I think I struggled with was the fact that I felt like an outsider, even though because I was an only child to my mom and my dad, but I had half siblings, so I never had my own, like, it wasn't like this is full blood brother or this a full blood sister. It's always, that's her kids, those, and then them they kids. And it was kind of like, but I'm the only kid between these two. And so growing up, that was a struggle because, I always felt like when he disciplined me, he would always be like, well, he was the only one that could discipline me. My stepmother didn't discipline me. She couldn't say much. And if she did, it was always through him. I never understood their culture, you know what I'm saying? Because even though I grew up Haitian, I grew up in America. So I never touched ground in Haiti, don't know nothing about Haiti, don't even know much about Bahamas because I left when I was 5. So all my formative years was all in America. So, there was a lot of clash there. But my relationship with him was always back and forth, just trying to, and even I was just trying to grasp and understand why he did certain things and what his reasoning was behind it. And they tell you to do it, but they don't give you a reason they doing it. So I used to be like, and then later on, as a teenager, I really got upset. I really got upset with him because I found out that for that whole time that I was being raised in America, I wasn't even a registered alien. So it was like, because I was in high school and I had to go get I did the driver's course, and they was like, oh yeah, you need your birth certificate and all this and then all that. I go back home like, yo, I need this stuff. And that's when I found out I ain't got nothing. And I'm sitting like you got to be kidding me. I'm sitting in, I ain't got nothing. So it's always been, it was for a very long time, it was turbulent. It was very turbulent between me and my dad, just because I couldn't understand his perspective on things that he did. Right, now I'm 40. God, dog, I can't even be saying it. Now I'm 40. And I will say I now see I see a lot more. I understand a lot more now that I'm a father. I understand a lot more of certain perspectives, not everything. You take the good, you take the bad, but I took more of the good. But there's certain things I see now. And so our relationship in my into my 30s, all throughout my 30s got better, because I finally decided, you know what, I can't blame him. He did the best he could with what he had. As a teenager, as a kid, you think they got to know all the answers. They got to figure it all out. I'm realizing now as a father, damn, I don't know jack nothing. I'm going I'm figuring out as I go. So that gave me a better perspective on, okay, the struggles of how he managed and how our relationship was. There was things he could done better if he was taught or learned a little bit, but I really do now. Yeah, it started off turbulent throughout my upbringing, and then later on it just grew into, you know, a better understanding of, okay, I really do have true respect for him. Because, you know, I mean, he got his ways. I ain't gonna lie about that.
Yeah.
But I do have more respect for him now that I did become a father. And now I'm looking like, damn, bro, them thrift stores, I see what you're talking about, because I'm about to go there right now.
For real.
You know what I'm saying? Like, cool, these kids grow fast. So that's been my relationship with him. And so it was turbulent at first, but we've grown in our adulthood. It's gotten a lot better, and I have so much utmost respect for him.
And that's so interesting that you say that, man, because I think a lot of guys, you know, especially in our age range, I just hit 34 like in January. And man, like you say, I had to really start to look at my dad and say to myself, you know, even my mom, you know, a lot of stuff. I didn't grow up with my dad, but even like with my mom, you know, I look at certain things that we did growing up, and you know, and I would criticize my mom and say, you know, be mad with her and stuff. And now that I got 3 kids of my own, man, bro, there's days where I'm like,
you sound just like her, don't you?
exactly, man, stuff that I saw, and it gives me even more perspective because, you know, I'm doing this with my wife. My mom did it by herself, and I'm like, bro, how did this woman raise 3 children? You know, and it just always blows me away, and it takes my respect for her to like levels that I can't even speak of, because I'm like, you know, it's hard for me with a wife in the house with me every day, you know, and I got, you know, these children from one woman, and she had to deal with, you know, these 3 children, you know, and I'm just like, man, bro, it is it. And I tell my kids all the time, one day y'all gonna love me, you know, because I be hard on them.
But you gonna love me. You gonna love
I
me.
say, just give it some years. Y'all gonna appreciate me when you get a little older. Man. So how would you say that relationship, you know, all of that, what you went through growing up, how would you say that's translated over into the way that you parent your own children now?
Oh man, good question. You know, the one thing I try to do, you know, our parents, like I said, they did the best they could with what the knowledge and understanding they had. Then they have us, and then we out there like do. But somebody said this to me one time, and they said, you got to think of it this way, you know, like every time you get an iPhone, right, or they get a phone, right, your once that grows old, you what do? You upgrade. Okay. Children are an upgrade from their parents. You know what I'm saying? So what I've learned is, okay, cool. You know, even though me and my parents didn't get along, I'm still an upgrade from them because I know I have a, you know, better knowledge, better understanding, better things, and I've been, you know, to be able to equip. So I take that, and now I know, okay, I gotta make, now that I got my 2 boys, I'm like, okay, what did they teach me, and how can I upgrade from that? You know what I'm saying? And so to help my kids then know, okay, there's a better way. So my style is usually just figuring, the first thing is, how do I do it in love? Okay, because that was the one thing I lacked. Most of the stuff we got when we were being disciplined or whatever, or being raised, we didn't feel the love. You know, it was always do it, do something, do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, do this and do that. All these directions, but never in love. And so, you know, not to say they didn't love us, it's just that affection never came through. So the one thing I try to do is, my first reaction is, how do I do that in love? How do I speak in love, talk in love, discipline in love? So that way my kids don't feel like I'm constantly attacking them. They know that, hey, I'm correcting them versus me just disciplining and getting on them for no reason. And there, oh God, that's hard. A lot, 90% of the time, it's hard to do that. But but you strive and you learn, you strive, and you get knowledge. Talk to other dads, talk to other families, talk to other people. Because the other thing is, you notice, and probably our audience notices, if you surround yourself with the people that are, that have that knowledge or have that understanding, you can learn from. You got to learn from people that wherever you're trying to get or where you're trying to elevate to, you got to learn from those people who are already crossed that path. Because trust me, when I was young and I ain't had no kids, I was as dumb as a rock. You know what I'm saying? But now that I got kids, now I got my boys, I'm sitting there like, dang, boy, like I have to learn and I have to study and I have to study them. A lot of times too, we don't study our kids.
Yes, sir.
Because we always think, it's what we say is the highway or the byway, like my dad used to be saying, but it's not just that. It's not highway, byway. It's more or less, you are the parent. You have to be a parent. You're not a friend, you're a parent. But in being a parent, just like I always equate it to this, just like, for those, it's like God, like Jesus, Jesus, if you read, if you're a Bible reader, you learn a lot that Jesus was straightforward on a lot of stuff. He wasn't like sugarcoating stuff.
Yes, sir.
But the way he did it, it wasn't like he was coming at you hard. He was coming at you with this humility of it. So I think the humility part is what I'm learning that I have to put in when I'm doing when I'm raising my kids, because I didn't get the humility, because I didn't have the humility when we was growing up. We didn't have those things. So trying to find the humility in it, trying to find the love in it. And then for me, lastly, is just understanding that I have to understand what my kids need in the moment. And that can go so many ways, but just understanding what they're actually asking of me. Because think of it, when I look at it like this. When I was a kid, and there was times where I knew I messed up. I knew I did wrong, or I knew whatever I was doing wasn't right. Or even if I wasn't doing wrong, I did something right. I knew what I wanted from my parents at that moment. I was trying to say that to them. They couldn't decipher that. So I'm in my head, I'm like, hey, I need this, I need love right now, or I need a hug, or I need this, or I need, but they couldn't, figure that out. So for me, my kids, is like, what do they need in that moment? And so I have to stop and say, okay, even though I'm harsh on them, or something, or something's bothering them, what is it that they need? Is it for me to take a moment, take a breath? Hey, what's wrong? You know what I'm saying? Or, come to me and just talk to them, and then correct them afterwards. Because sometimes that correction without, if you correct them, there's nothing wrong with correcting your kids. It's just a matter of, how you do it. And a lot of times we've learned as parents, especially in our Black communities, we correct them right off the bat, straight up.
Yep.
Yes, and they're like, where did that come from? Like, so it's for me, my approach is, I need to know, one, am I doing it in humility? Am I doing it in love? And am I understanding what that need is at the moment? Okay, because it does cause sometimes that the need is, you're gonna get your pop, you're gonna get your bottom pop, because I told you 20 times already and you didn't listen the first time. And I always try my best. The one thing I know that my dad didn't do, and my dad never really approached us with just kind of, with just understanding what was going on in our heads, and like, because once again, it was what he say is what you do. So for me, it's like, I don't want you to just, when I tell my kids to do something, I got to give them an explanation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I have to give them that exclamation. Oh God, I can't even say the word right now. I got to explain that to them. And the reason I do that is because I need them to understand the severity of what they're doing, the trajectory. Because sometimes you don't understand if you do something and there's no understanding of why, you're kind of just like lost. And so it's for me to kind of break it down. Here's why you did this. Here's what you did. Here's what's gonna happen next. And here's the reason that's gonna happen. There's a saying I say to my kids all the time. I say, and they'll tell you they sleep right now, but I say, if you do good things, what happens? Good things happen. You get good consequences. Do bad things, you get bad consequences. Because I want to teach them eventually, guess what? When you're an adult, you do something bad, don't expect me to come get you out of debt. You made a bad choice. Guess what comes with making a bad choice? Consequences. And you have to face those consequences. And and good things. If you make good choices, good things happen. Good consequences. I tell them, because I always be like, because when they do something, I tell them, what do I tell you all the time? They be like, they'll be like, uh, good choices.
Yeah.
Good, and so it's always like, so it's just kind of instilling. So my style has been different from what my parents raised me. And there's some aspects of what they've done I kind of tweak a little bit. But it's really, for me, love, humility, and understanding the need of that child. Because it's not about me at that moment. It's about making sure that this child grows up to be, a functioning adult.
Yes, sir.
So,
I love that, man. I love that. And one of the most important things I think you said is how in our community, a lot of us did grow up in that way, the way it's like you do this and shut up and that's it.
That's it.
And I do get in that mode sometimes, but I have to catch myself because I'm like, man, I don't want them to think that they don't have a
safe space.
They don't have a safe space. They don't have a say so. I don't want my kids to feel like, dang, I can't say anything to daddy. I can't, so at times, my wife, I think it drives my wife crazy, but I allow them to challenge me.
Yeah.
And I tell them straight up, I'm not afraid of your challenge. If you feel like I'm wrong, tell me that.
Right.
Like if I ask you to do something, I don't have no type. I do not mind telling you why I say what I say. Right. And they know me, and we will go back and forth, and I'll let them get it off. Don't be disrespectful. Oh. But tell me, and sometimes, especially my oldest daughter, she'll tell me, Daddy, I feel like you're wrong, because you're not always perfect. You don't always do everything right, and you act like you do everything right, and you expect us to do everything right. We're children, and she'll tell me just like that. And when she says stuff like that, it'll humble me, and it goes back to that humility that you talked about. Really, we at times we really got to humble ourselves as parents, because that one thing that my daughter be saying to me, it always gets me to that place to where I'm like, damn, she right. Yeah. Because a lot of this stuff, honestly, the stuff that I be fussing at them about, they get it from me.
Right.
Or they get it from their mom.
You raising your own self,
Straight up. And it's like, if we're honest, bro, kids are so pure to the point to where if you show them something, they'll do it.
They'll do it.
They emulate us almost down to the T.
Oh.
And that's just reality. And I have to really look back at myself and say, where did they get that stuff from? I'm fussing at my son for being mad with his sisters and, displaying this anger. And at times, I know exactly where he get that from, because I come home from work and I'm tired and I'm just downtrodden. Right. And they do the most simple thing and I blow up.
Yeah.
in that moment. And then my son does the same exact thing, so it's like where I have to look at back within myself and say, you know what? I got to be better. I got to show a better example because they're only doing what we teach them.
What you're teaching them. And then, another thing that to tie that in, it also opens up a good communication between your parents. You start that young because a lot of time, think about it, when we were growing up, the way our parents, we wouldn't want to go to them about nothing. Everything was bottled in. You take it in. You don't need, if you had an issue, had a problem, you ain't going to them because you didn't feel that, like you said, you didn't feel safe enough to come to them because either they blow up or they get upset, they get mad or whatever, which is fair as a parent, but it wasn't never done with the humility to understand that way. This kid is still trying to learn the world. They still trying to learn themselves. So that helps when your kids can reciprocate back and talk to you. I know some people will be like, nah, the kids ain't. I'm not saying they need to be adults, and I'm not saying.
Exactly.
What I'm saying is you got to also understand you're raising an adult, a little adult, and you got to teach them how to communicate. And if you don't communicate well with them, guess what they won't be doing? Communicating well with others. And so you have to have that humility to understand that it's more than just, hey, do what I say, or go in your room, shut up, and it's all that. Like, it don't really work that way. You know what I'm saying? Because we've seen, in the past, those trauma, the mental health issues we got right now and all of that. So, I'm not saying it'll go forever go away, but being a parent, being a dad, being a father, especially, because the stigmas we get and all the things we get, being that, to just say, hey, especially a Black father, and say, I want open communication with my kids because I want them to be able to come talk to me if somebody bothering them, something, or they going through something. I may not be able to fix it, but at least for them to come talk to me, that's because I've built that relationship to be able to say they can come to me even if they know I'm gonna be upset. They know I may not like the result or whatever I hear. They know I'm still gonna be able to say, okay, all right, I love you. Now let's figure out what needs to happen going forward. So it's all about you communication, but it's all about trying to you got to understand you're raising kids to be adults, and if you see some of these adults, if you want better adults in the world, we got to raise the kids to be better. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I said. But yeah, man, that's definitely cool.
That's real, man. How did your time in the serving the country in the Navy and stuff, how did that impact you as a dad?
Well, first off, I wasn't thinking about being no dad during while I was doing my time. So the time that I served while I was in the military, I was single the whole time. But it did impact me into fatherhood and being wanting to be a husband. I'll say this, and there might be some people that might disagree, some little girls out there might disagree, but I ain't gonna, but I'll say this. When I was in the military, and what I saw, I enjoyed what I did as a single man. That I had fun, but that's what I was, a single man. I was single-minded. But I knew one thing in the back of my mind, and that was I wanted a family. Okay, I wanted to be a family man. The reason for that was because of my upbringing. Because my mom and my dad were never together, they just had me split. And then, I always felt that, like I said earlier, as an outsider, I wanted that nucleus of a family to always be me, my wife, and our kids. I knew from a very young age, I ain't trying to have no kids out of wedlock. That was just because I was a kid out of wedlock. So for me, it was like, boom. So when I got in the military now, I knew I had fun and I was safe and having fun, you know what I'm saying? But I also saw the bad side of how being in the military worked. Um, when it came to families and fatherhood and all that and being a parent, you're gone a lot. You know, for some, they're gone a lot. Some, I got friends, we go on tour, come back, they kids like 8 years, you know, the kids are born, and now the kids like 8 years old. You like, dang, you ain't seen your kid in like 7 years, you know what I'm saying? I saw that side. I saw the side, you know, multiple, you know, children being born out of wedlock, you know, and once again, not being taken care of or not having that nucleus. Um, and I knew how to damage, you know, for me, the damage that it did for me. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't damage, it was just the pain and the struggles that I had in my head, you know, because a lot of times, you know, kids do feel when things something ain't right. And I knew
Yes,
that
sir.
wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate my stepmom. She did a lot, you know, to support me, but I still felt that, you know, emptiness somewhere. Um, while I was in the military, you know, I would also see how, you know, just the strain of everything happening, how it affects certain families and how it, you know, and then all the other aspects of it where, you know, you know, stuff was going on, other stuff was going on. And it was just so crazy. So I always vowed to myself, I said, bruh, right now I'm doing my thing, but when it comes down to it, when that day comes, you know, I really want to make sure that I'm ready for it, that I want it, and that, you know, that it's with the right person and that we have our kids. So I mean, even though I did date single mothers at the time, at some points, you know, I never had, I mean, we had good relationships. It was just, but at the back of my mind, I was like, I need to have my own. Like, I feel like my legacy is cemented in having my own with the two of us having our first child and going through it together. So
Yes,
that's how
sir.
it kind of shaped me. So it just kind of started, you know, as I got into my young, latter, my 20s, later 20s and stuff like that, I started realizing, okay, you know, I'm getting to that hill. You know what I'm saying? What you gonna do now? So I'm just like, okay, cool. So when I met my wife, I was like, oh, when I met my wife and I knew that, you know, she was the one, I was like, yes. And it was like, you know, because the first thing I told her when we started dating, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. And I was honest with her. I said, I ain't perfect and we about to get in this relationship, but do know it's gonna be trials and tribulations and it's gonna be a journey. And I need somebody to take this journey with me and not, you know, and not falter, you know, on the, you know, on a little pitfall or a hiccup or something. So we gotta fight through this, you know. I mean, we still fighting through some stuff. 10 years later, we still fighting through some stuff,
You got to
but
tell me.
but we in it together, and we know we're there to support one another. And you know, even though we may have disagreements every now and then, but that's how the military shaped me because what I saw, I knew I didn't want. You know what I'm saying? I knew too I wasn't gonna do life in the military because I was like, there's no way I'm gonna have kids and I can't be there for the birth. Because another part of that was the politics, you know. So what that means is so in my military, folks might know, you know, some people get the opportunity to, you know, go home. If you out to sea, okay, so you go out for 6 months on a boat, whatever, you gotta, you know, they send you out. You about to have a baby. You know, you out there and you like, dang, you know, my first kid finna come through. You know what I'm saying? Well, some people got the opportunity, you know, to get flown back and some didn't. And it was kind of like, you know, like, wait. And the people that did get the opportunity, sometimes you'd be like, did they really need to go? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, my man's right here, you know, that's his first kid, and he, you know, he just got it, you know, got up in the Navy or whatever, and he ain't going. Like, it's like, you know, what is it called? Oh God, I can't get the words.
Preferential.
Preferential, you know what I'm saying? They like,
Yeah.
they have certain preferences, and it's like, nah, see that I can't do that because I can't hang my life, my child's life. I'm bringing a birth on the fact that you may like me and you may send me, or you may not like me and you don't send me. You know what I'm saying? So I gotta, basically, so it's that kind of thing. So I just was like, yeah, I'm gonna live it up right now. But once I get out this thing, then I'll focus on, then that way I don't have the military ties to it. I miss it every now and then, but I don't have the ties that, that's gonna affect me not being there and I really do as human beings when we lack something, we want to make up for that. And that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted to make up for the lack that I had. And that's why I was like, yeah, nah, I'm not, no. I did 8, 9, and I was like, yeah, this is it. I'm out. Peace. So that's how it shaped me. It kind of, drew me away from wanting to be a military man and a military family man to being just a family man. You know what I'm saying? So that's
That's
all.
real.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Love that. Got to be there for the fam.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Cavian mentor experience.
The KBN mentor experience. Okay, yeah. That's still a work in progress. But the KBN mentor experience right now is a branch of the Mr. Kerby brand. So Mr. Kerby is the overall brand, and then I wrote my first created and what it's doing for courage and all those kind of things.
It froze up
And what
for a
I
quick
want to
second.
do. Okay.
Yeah, it froze up. It said it kind of froze up right when you got to the point where you was talking about how you wrote the book.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I wrote the book. I wrote the children's book, Majest and Royal, and we created the Cavian world, the Cavian kingdom. Just a positive place where it's all about unity, all about togetherness, and out of that, the Cavian experience, which is kind of it kind of resembles what the to make it in layman terms, kind of like the Wakandian experience. Just everything comes together. The only difference is there's no fighting, no battles, or none. But it's about it's unity.
Yeah.
It's about unity amongst us. That we are positive. We're sowing positive seeds into one another. Stuff like the KBN mentorship. Which is actually going to be changing. There is a mentorship program that will be inclined to it, but it won't be. We're in the works of bringing something different, new. It is the same concept, but it's a little bit broader. And what it's going to do is it's what it's going to do. And I'm glad I'm on this podcast. It's going to tackle the community. It's going to tackle the community areas of helping more Black young men to become gentlemen. Okay. I think a lot of times we forget, I won't say we forget, but a lot of times we see a need and we don't go after it. And I think with the mentorship program or this particular program, what we're going to do is we're going to go after it. And what it's going to do is we're going to provide workshops, we're going to provide, you know, training, we're going to provide resources. And what we're going to be doing is giving young men, young kids life skills We want to hone in on life skills because we notice that's what's lacking
Yes, sir.
between the academic and the rest of the stuff, life skills. So we're going to try to push to start teaching and giving workshops and presentations and things about life skills, from learning how to just tie your tie. You know, I ain't learned how to tie a tie until I was like 30.
I was like 22 probably.
You know what I'm saying? And it was like those. I mean, I had a father, no. Man, he used to put ties on me all the time, but he never really showed me how to tie. You know, most of it was clip-ons. You know what I'm saying? But learning those things, learning about investment, learning about money management, learning about relationships, learning about how to, you know, how to be, you know, influential as a person, you know, learning those simple little basic things that seems to be lacking in our society when it comes to our young boys and our young men. Because once again, no one's, I'm gonna say this as lightly as I can. No, there's if you take a moment and look at all the programs, everything, there's 90% of programs are geared towards who?
Probably Black people.
Towards Black people. Of those Black people, what male or female?
Mostly female.
Mostly female. So there's not a lot of programs. Now there are, I'm not saying there aren't programs for males, but it's almost like the core of what we need for the males, for the young men, for the young boys isn't there. Once again, so I think that's what the it won't be the Kerby mentorship, but what the branch will be. The branch will be Kings on a Mission, okay, and that will flow into helping, you know, young men become gentlemen and teach them those life skills that they need. So that's where we're taking that Kerby mentorship right now. So it's, but yeah, that's really what it is to help young men become gentlemen so that they can learn those simple life skills that they don't get. And it's not just, you know, this or that, just the management, financial management or the relation. It's everything, you know, all the little stuff that we didn't get, you know, in your life, you know, I think it's frozen again.
Yeah.
You know, that father figure in life to teach you those life skills. That is what we want to hopefully tap into and be able to provide those services to say, here's how you do this, or here's how you know, here's how you control your anger. You know what I'm saying? And bring in those experts, bring in those people to be able to do that. So hopefully in the next year, you know, within the next end of this year, going into the next year, we'll be fully ready. I am working on the summer program through the library. I'll be working, so information will be coming out on that soon, but basically, yeah, it's help our young men become gentlemen, so that way they can know, you know, things they need to know about life itself, and that's really where it's gonna go.
Very important, very, very, very important stuff, man. You know, man, you right on. You know, when it comes to programs, we usually get left out. You know, and that was one of my reasons. Like when I started this podcast, I'm like, women got a lot of places where they can talk. You know, women in general, they're gonna talk to each other anyways. Right. And you know, if you look at podcasts, especially when I was thinking about starting this like 2017-ish, bro, there were no Black fatherhood podcasts out there. Listen to me. When right now you can probably find it in 2023, but if you go back to 2017, and I was a big podcast listener, bro, listen, there were none geared toward Black males. You know, and I that's one thing that I do not apologize for. You know, of course, I've interviewed plenty of white guys on the podcast, but I'm very intentional and unapologetic about this podcast is from a Black father's perspective.
Right.
Because my main target and my main audience, the people that I'm talking to, are going to sound and look just like me.
Right.
Because I felt like we didn't have that. I scoured the podcast world and I could not find anybody that looked or sounded like me. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to jump into that lane and I'm going to create a podcast for us where Black men can be highlighted and be looked at in a better light than what we've always been looked at, and that's just on the podcast side. If you look at programs and all of that stuff, we are not represented, we are not supported. I know plenty of Black single dads out there. It's just not highlighted. It's not something that people don't talk about that, and I believe that most men are overlooked in that way, and so that's just a little background of why I started this, because I just feel like even in that same way, our Black men, young Black men, are overlooked. When I talk to these young men, I feel like they're misrepresented. I think even us as Black men, and this is something that I'm always adamant about. I feel like when we talk to them, when we talk to young Black men, we don't talk to them, we talk at them. And we tell them what they're not, we tell them what they need to do and all of these things, instead of saying, listen, little bro, how can I help you? What can we do better? What help do y'all need? What are y'all looking for? And really sitting there, really listening to them. And when you really sit and listen to them, you find out so many things that you wouldn't regularly know. Yeah. And so a lot of them feel like, they feel unheard because they come from these same homes that we came from, where you can't say anything. What you say doesn't matter. And so they grow up like that. A lot of them either didn't have a dad, or they had a dad there, but there wasn't a relationship there.
Yeah.
So I think what you're doing is definitely needed. We need more programs like that. I just feel like we just don't have enough of it. There's a few out there, but I'm a big believer in, I don't care if someone else from Gainesville starts a dad podcast, do it. I had one of my friends, he kind of felt like he was going to step on my toes or something. He was kind of trying to beat around the bush. Man, listen, I had to stop him in his tracks. Bro, listen, please start another podcast.
Right.
Because I can't interview everybody, bro. I'm trying to raise a family.
Right. I mean, we try to raise families, but more or less, it helps that we can get more people, more Black men out there pushing the more positive information. Look at it. If it's only a few of us, our voices get drowned. If it's more than us, then we can drown out their voices. Because like you said, you don't hear a lot of that, especially across for Black fathers. When you hear about Black fathers, the first thing, in fact, you don't even hear Black father, you hear baby daddy. Right? Yeah. So that's what, I mean, it's like 18 million podcasts, and all they talking about is how a Black man ain't this and a Black man ain't that. And it's like, that's what they're feeding, like, I mean, a ton of them. So if somebody like you and somebody else, me, whoever, we all can do the same thing and start getting our own army of people saying, hold on. No. Let's start feeding you the truth, because we have the experience. That's, in the army, I'm military minded right now, but in the army, you need people. You need a grand amount of people. You know what I'm saying? You need people fighting the same cause. Don't matter what's your background, what you do. You're not stepping on my toe. At the end of the day, it's the brotherhood, and I'm popping off these bullets for you, and I'm popping these bullets off for you
Yeah.
because we got one common goal, and that's to defeat the enemy. And our enemy as black men is to defeat those stereotypes that we keep getting. Because yeah, they say, oh, ain't a lot of good black men out there. It's tons out there. You just ain't in the wrong places, and you talking to
For
the
real.
wrong dudes. You talk to the wrong dudes. Then they be like,
Yeah.
oh, well, they ain't no good. They just good. You know, they lead their kids and stuff like that. No, it's a lot of
Okay, it's back on.
you see me? Okay, froze up. Yeah. But yeah, they be like, oh, they don't be taking care of kids. No, there's a lot of cats out here who want to take care of the kids. The ones that don't want to take care of the kids is the same lazy people. And then for the life of me, I've never understood this. And if this go live, go viral, whatever. But I could never understood this. You you know he wrong. He messed up. He jacked up. And he got 4 or 5 kids already,
Mm.
right? But you mad at everybody else because you decided to still go with the same cat who
Yes,
was
sir.
already jacked up. That's your
Mm-hmm.
choice. Like, I'm not saying ladies, it's not against ladies. I'm just saying at some point we have to stop and say, wait a minute, what is my role in this situation? You
Mm.
know what I'm saying? What is my role in this situation? Because it takes two to tango. I know that sounds so dang cliche and make me old as hell, but it takes two to tango. You
Yeah.
can't tango without the other person. So we got to learn how to come together and push out that negative stereotype and start pushing that more positive, that we are out here. We trust me, I know you know
Too many,
brothers, we know
bro.
it's too many of us out here. So yeah, we need to have 50 dad. Can we talk? Can we speak?
All that.
Dad, what's up? You know,
Yeah.
positive dad, good dads, and stuff like that. And get that out
Yeah.
there so the message is more, so we can drown out that negative message about all this other stuff that is really, honestly, when you think about it, it's only a small percentage of people doing that anyways, and y'all just cycling around the same people. Because I always, when you look at your demographic, you can know what you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
If you don't come out of that demographic, you you'll never know what's on the other side. But
Straight
because you
up.
still deal with this, you talking about niggas, girls, or ladies ain't this and dudes ain't this. But
Mm.
most of your people you associate with is right here. So
Mm-hmm.
that circle you're associating with is what's feeding your mindset. Because if you go
Mm.
outside of that, go elsewhere, go, travel, do whatever, you'll learn, oh wait, dang, there are good people out here doing what they're supposed to do and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
that's that. Let me get off my soapbox before they make me go viral. They make me go viral. Be like, look, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Man, what served as your inspiration to write the alphabet affirmations book?
Ooh. Oh, another great question. My 2 boys, um,
Mm. How
took
old are they?
5 and 2.
Five
Uh,
and two. Okay.
yeah, 5 and 2. The littlest one will be 3 in July 5th. But yeah, 5 and 2 right now. But you can say 18 and 12, more like you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Sound about right.
um, but they inspired me because we there was a couple years ago, right after the pandemic, we went to the library. Um, went to the library, and I was looking for books for them because I like reading to them. Definitely to read. My 5-year-old right now, he can read any book by himself. He actually read
Mm.
a book tonight all by himself, just like he can read. And he's only 5. Everybody be like, no, he can he can literally read.
Yeah. Love
Um,
that.
so went to the library, and when we went to the library, as I was searching for books to get for them, there wasn't really a lot of um, that early learning Okay, the early learning books, the kind of beginner books, the ABCs, the little color books and stuff like that. There wasn't a lot of books that showed Black kids
Representation.
representation. There was not a lot of representation. You did get a little bit more representation once you get into like level 2, level 3 books, which is more like the young adults and 8th, 7th, 8th graders, or 8th and 9th graders. I'm sorry, 8th, 9th age, that age group. But just the beginning, ABCs, and all the books we kept getting, especially the ABC books we kept getting, they had the same theme. Once again, they had the same books. It was like A is for alligator. Like, come on, bro. Everybody knows A is for apple. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, A is apple, alligator. Can we find another A? It's when I went home, I'm reading to them, and the book was actually the A for alligator. I was just sitting there like, God, there's got to be another book that besides the same, phonics, the same information over and over. So I said, all right, so that night I just said, it can't be that hard. But the key was for how I got affirmations, because it wasn't just I wanted to write an alphabet book. I said, my boys are young right now. I got to start pouring into them, because this is also during the time, when we were looking around the country, it was very heightened chaos with police brutality, all this, racism, black against white, all this stuff. And I'm just like, God, I gotta raise my kid in this crazy ass world, what I'm saying? So I'm sitting there like, I gotta pour into them, because if I don't pour into them and make them solid inside on who they are and what they are, that somebody gonna snatch them up, their minds up, not them physically, but their minds up, and they're gonna put whatever they want in their head if I don't build them up. So that's how the affirmations came. I said, okay, I could do the ABCs. That's not hard, because I was like, it's just the ABCs. You just gotta find words that rhyme, And then I was like, okay, but I can have affirmations where it's like, boom, A is for awesome, because you're awesome. And then that's when it started to flow. And I wrote it that I had a rough manuscript that night. So my wife's sitting, she over there asleep. I'm in typing away, like it's in my brain. And I got it all. I had it all typed up that night, and then I said, and woke up. She was up, but I was like, read this. Tell me what you think. And then she was like, this is good. I was like, okay, all right. Now what do we do? What I'm saying? So that's what inspired me, is to write it, was for the boys so that they could have something. And so once they had that, once we knew what it was, then the next step was, okay, how do I get this to hopefully get out to the masses, which I'm still working on, but hopefully get it out there, to have this product be available. And so that's what inspired the boys, just reading to them and realizing there's not enough books in their age group. So in that early learning, because you think about it, everybody agrees, like psychologists, white people, everybody agrees, right? They'll say, read to kids early. We all agree to that. Read to kids early. But us as Black folks, we open them books and we're like, okay, Goldilocks. You're like, okay, Goldilocks. Or what's the other one? You're like, oh, okay, Curious George. Like a lot of them don't have the true, like, wait a minute, I'm reading to my 6-month-old son. I need him to know he can see himself, or So that's kind of what it was. That's what kind of came behind it, was just, no, we gotta have more books and stuff like that. So that way we can build them up when they're young. Because the truth of the matter is, we gotta start young, and we don't
have to.
We gotta start young. We gotta put more positive, and it's not just like you see it, you open up television, YouTube, whatever, and it's like, God, dog, like, God, there's so much crap out there. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
And you like, well, where's the stuff that can pour into my kid to know who he is, what defines him as a Black person? You know what I'm saying? Because they feeding, I don't care, they can listen to all that. Y'all feeding our kids some junk. You know what I'm saying?
BS.
And you're like, I can't have my kid feeding that, because guess what that puts? Division. You know what I'm saying? That's why I modeled the book about you, the Kerbian world, through unity, because that's how we come together. We got to unify. I'm not here, bro. I'm not here to take your spot. I'm not here to take this guy. I'm here to say we need to come together. You got great ideas. You got great ideas. Let's put it together. I got ideas. Let's put it together. But the more we say, this mine, you do you put over there. We've been doing that
we ain't
for
getting
what?
nowhere.
We've been doing that for about 40, 50, 80, 50, 100 years now. Where we got? Nowhere.
Straight up, nowhere.
We still much more divided than we ever been. So how do we? It's about unification. We have to unify together. If we don't, once again, we perish. So that was the inspiration, just knowing that it starts early. The boys taking them to the library is really, there's another aspect, but I'm not going to put it on YouTube because that's another loaded question. I don't want nobody come out here cancel me for stuff.
But no, that's very important, man. And I'll say this, man, keep doing what you're doing, because like you say, I started reading to my baby at my oldest, maybe at like 6 months. I took a class. It was called Fred at Santa Fe College. It was stood for Fathers Reading Every Day. This was maybe like 2013-ish, around that time. And because my baby, she was about 6 months. Yeah, about 6 months. And they were just like, regardless, read to the children, even if they can't understand.
Yeah.
It's just good for their growth. So I started reading to her all the time, man. And man, that girl started reading at 3 years old, man. She was like reading, and when she got in the Head Start program, when she got into the program, she was just like, her teacher was like, she's already reading. She's already, full sentences and all that stuff. So I'm like, so now she's 9, she'll be 10 next month. Man, that girl is a real deal. Like, every night before she sleeps, we'll put her in the bed and she has a little nightlight. And we just got her a lamp like this month. But I first started noticing, I'll put them down to bed or whatever. I'll go in my room. I'm just chilling with my wife. I might get up and go to the refrigerator and I'll notice a light on. Or sometimes I'll go back there and I'll hear something and I go and check and she's like reading. It's dark in the room and she's like opens up her curtains a little bit to try to get a little light. Or she'll turn on the laundry room light in the hallway to get a little light. And I'll be like, girl, take your butt to sleep. And then it hit me. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna let her just start staying up, because she's not bothering anybody. She just sits up in her bed for at least 30 minutes every night and she'll read a book. And I'm like, once I started really noticing that's what she does, I'm like, now it's just a normal thing. She got her little lamp and she knows, she'll read until she's done and she'll turn the lamp off and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, it's normal to her now. I actually helped her start her own YouTube channel, doing book reviews. So I'm like, hey, if this is what you like, this is something that you love, I take my skills and invest in you.
And
so, yeah, man. So I'm noticing more with my son. You know, once I had my son, my second child, I started, you know, life was way different. You know, when we first had that first child, it was just me and my wife. We first starting out. I had a lot of time on my hands. But once I had my son, I didn't have as much time. So I didn't like I wasn't on him like that.
Right.
With it or with my last daughter. But I still, like you say, boy, they love the library. They just asking me today, Daddy, can we go back? We need to take some books back and stuff. So I'm like, we'll try to go later this week. But you know, we can't stress this enough for any dad that might listen to this. We cannot stress this enough. Read to your babies and instill that in them that, you know, one thing I used to do is I used to put books in the toy box when they were younger. And so I wanted it to be like books are like equivalent to toys.
Okay.
So it's like, you know, a book isn't, you know, just a thing you put on the shelf. No, it's gonna be right there where the toys are, where the baby dolls and the cars and all that.
Yeah,
you got a book in there. And every now and then they would pull a book out the toy box and sit and read a book.
Right.
So it was like it wasn't foreign to them. It was a normal thing. You know, it's something that's equivalent to fun.
Yeah.
You know, put that in their mind. You know, all the fun stuff in this box, everything in this box is fun.
Right.
So you got books, you got cars, you got baby dolls, you got all that.
Yeah.
And so I've been noticing lately with my son, he's been reading more. You know, I know out here in Newberry, they have these little they have these book things throughout the neighborhoods.
Like you can go in and grab a book. It's like a little free little book. You can
those things.
Yeah.
Where you can take it says take as many as you want, whatever.
Take as many as you want, or you can put in a book Yeah, you can do the same thing. Yeah, I know. I'm aware of those.
We found one of those, and my son got it was like an NBA book about Yao Ming.
Cool.
And so he got the book. Man, this man has been reading that book for like the last 2 weeks. And so I realized, okay, maybe he likes sports books. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna buy my baby, I'm gonna buy him a sports book. You know, I'm gonna buy him some more books like that. Because he really enjoys learning about it. And it got the pictures and stuff in there, and he's just reading. And so I'm like, okay, boom. My oldest daughter, she likes like novels and stuff about kids in school. She likes stuff like that. So I'm like, maybe that's his lane. He likes those type of books. Let me invest in that.
Right.
So like you say, paying attention to your kids. So I'm paying attention to him, trying to, you know, fill him out and see where his interests are. That's his interest. Boom. So now I know that. I found that out like 2 weeks ago. So now that's something that in the next week or two, I'm gonna go and get him a few books like that, where he enjoys reading it, something that I can read to him with, and boom, he just get him used to reading, man. So yeah, I can't stress that enough.
And they can't. I try to tell my kids to, like, we have the same thing. Like, their books is all there with their toys. They got a whole shelf with their toys and the books. So, and then they got books in a whole nother shelf in their room. So they got books everywhere. No matter where they go in the house, there's somewhere a book, because it's like just normal for them to have those books. But the one thing I do stress to them, and they young, and I say a lot of things to my kids, and you know, people be looking at me, I'm crazy, but there's things where I talk to them like, and I say to them a lot of times is, no one can take the knowledge that you've read away. Always remember that. Nobody can take the knowledge that you have, that you've read away. Because if you read something that's in here, no one can take what's in here. Because that's the most powerful thing you got, and that's your mind. And if you help cultivate that, you know, yeah, they 5 and 2, they have no clue what I'm saying. But it's almost like I'm always trying to find a way to make sure that I'm reinforcing positive behavior in them, positive things when they do something, even when they're reading the books. Like tonight, we always, because oh boy, you can't tell them they can't read a book. They go crazy. They like, no. especially the oldest one. He asks for 2 or 3 books. Can we read two?
Yeah.
And he'll come down like, we can read 2 books. Now you gotta go and brush your teeth, do your thing.
Yeah.
But the time you take, if you don't get it done, then you get, it depends on how much books you can read. So he always gets 1 book in, but he always wants to get like 2 or 3 in there. It's like, but he playing around all the time. Like, you ain't gonna get your chance to read those 2 books.
All right.
But what it is instilling just those behaviors that eventually, when they get older, when they get to that point, it's not, you're not gonna have to fight them to want to do something. You're not gonna have to fight them to have to, like you say, with your daughter, she's already reading those books. She's doing bruh, the kids that you heard it, like, what was it, 10 years ago? I don't know if it was like 10 years ago. It was a little while ago. Little 8-year-old was making like $8 million off YouTube just showing toys.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
he made real big money.
Big money just playing with toys. Like, all he did was sit in the camera, play with the toys, video it, and then people watching it. And I'm like, you watching a kid play with kids are watching this kid play with toys. Think about that.
Crazy.
And he's killing the game. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
But that's where we've gotten in a society where we can watch it, make this person super rich, and we're looking like, well, why my life ain't it? You're watching somebody else do something, bruh. So it's like, come on, man. Let's pour into our kids, make sure that, see what their needs are, what they want, and pay attention, but most importantly, read, and not just read to them, just be a part of what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I think we miss that. I have to struggle with that sometimes, because like you said, you get busy, you bog down, you got work, you got, I got my 9 to 5. I wake up 9 to 5, come home, dinner, do all the kids stuff, boom. 9 o'clock, guess what? I'm either doing a podcast like this, or I'm working on the business, working on something. Boom, boom, boom. So a lot of times my mind is so many other places all at once that I'm like, they're asking me, Daddy, come play with me, come read with me, come read this book for me, or do this. And I'm like, okay, I'll get to it. I will get to it. I'll get to it. And I have to do a whole lot better job to say, okay, stop, take a breath, and meet them, where they at, and be there, be present. Because I was, we all, our kid, I had a dad in the house, but he wasn't present. You know what I'm saying? So I got to be present at that time. So sometimes I stop what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at in the middle of it. Boom, you got my full undivided attention. You know what I'm saying? And so, but you gotta make time for them and be present. But you gotta be there. And man, fatherhood, I say all the time, man, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And I know a lot of people want to demean it, bring it down to the lowest thing that it could be. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't have fathers in the life of your kids, or in life of kids in their lives, it's hard for them. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for them. Because even if you have and I pray not everybody, but even if you don't have the best relationship with your dad, you still get something out of it. You know what I'm saying? You still get something. You still learn something. You can still learn something from it. The question is, you healing and dealing with whatever it is that you need to go learn through. Because God's going to help you. I don't think God makes a mistake on putting us where he needs to put us. You know what I'm saying? I think we make the mistake on trying to be outside of what he has planned for us, because it is a learning process. Like I said, I had to learn a lot of stuff because I didn't get that from my dad, and so all the stuff I had to learn, I had to go seek out that knowledge and that attention and say, okay, cool. I got to a point in my life where I realized I don't know shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know nothing, but I got to teach myself. You know what I'm saying? And when I started learning that, I got to teach me so I could be a better version for the what I'm gonna teach the kids if I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, they're gonna come throw that right back in your face, like you don't know what you're talking about, daddy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, crap, I gotta teach myself. I'm not saying I know it all. I tell my kids all the time, I don't know everything. And they actually, you know how they ask you questions like
Yeah.
why? But you know, this and that. And I'm honest with them. I'm like, I'm sorry, Langy, I don't know. But what I can do, and we can do it together,
Yeah.
is let's go look it up.
Find out.
Let's go find out. You know what I'm saying? So then now I'm teaching them how to go search out certain things because, and I'm being honest, I don't know it, but I'm involving in him that we together to find out. And we do experiments. He'll be like, you know, I don't know what it was about the volcano. And like, oh, the volcano. It's like, I don't know, but let's find out. Let's make a volcano and see what happens. You know, and it's just kind of like working it together. So it's a constant learning and understanding and battle every day. So yeah, but reading gives them the knowledge, and that knowledge no one can take that away from them. You know, they could try to take all this other stuff, but if they know who they are, what they are, and they got that knowledge in their head, you can't take that away from them, especially black young black boys, you know, doing something in this world.
Yes, sir. Man. Listen, bro, I could go a whole other hour with you, bro.
Well, yeah, man, bring me on again at some other time. I don't got no problem with it, man. Trust me.
Seriously,
I'm
man.
trying to get my face out there, trying to, do some positive stuff, especially in the Gainesville area. I know we in Gainesville. We'll definitely have to link up
Yeah, got
outside of
to.
this, but yeah, Gainesville needs, it needs some help in some areas, and I know because I do, like you said, I work with the Education Foundation and helping those kids, and that is, very important work. But we do see the disparity in some areas of what's going on, and it's really, it's sad because it's just kind of like it shouldn't be like that, but it is what it is. There's a huge divide. We know what it is, and it's kind of like the minute you cross this side, it's almost like, okay, this is different, and it's like we need to help everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's not just one side of that. It's everybody has to, like I said, unify together and really work, because no one talks about unity anymore. Everybody talk a good game, but no one really puts in a good game. I always say, then I tell my kids the same thing. I say, you can say what you want all day long. But your actions are going to speak louder than your words.
Yes, sir.
Words are important. I agree. But what I see you do is just as important. And if you don't have the action to put in place, I can't take your words. I can't take your words. I can't hang on your words, because your actions already prove that you're just bluffing, you know what I'm saying?
Man, it's a guy I listen to named Show Baraka.
Joe Baraka, the Christian
Baraka.
rapper?
Yes, bro.
Oh my God, you ain't. Boy,
Man, come on. Listen.
Boy, that boy right there.
Listen, bro.
I
He
remember when
has
he
a
first
song
came.
called Words.
Words.
Probably the most powerful song I've ever listened to. And in the song, he says, maybe words don't mean say much. Maybe words don't say much, or maybe words don't mean much. Maybe words don't mean much. Maybe I should just learn to shut up. And in the song, he's referencing his sons that have, he has a son that's autistic. And in so many ways, he's saying like how he's learned from his son that, bro, I make a living with words. I make a living off of words. I'm a rapper. I make a living.
Right.
But like, literally, these words don't mean nothing. I have a son that can't even communicate with me verbally, but he communicates his love to me every day through his actions. And bro, like, man, now you got me wanting to go listen to the song. I got to listen to that when we get off it. But
Bro, Show Baraga, That man,
But
since he came out, that boy coldest. I know everybody be on like they. I mean, I love Cray because I was on Cray for a
yeah, I
long
love
time
Cray
when it was
too.
hit. I
That's
love
my
Cray. I
dog.
love Trip. I love them all.
But
But
Show,
boy, people be sleeping
oh my
on
God.
Show.
Bro,
Derek Minor too. People
I
be sleeping
love
on
Derek
Derek
Minor.
Minor.
That's my
They
boy.
be sleeping on
Yeah.
Derek Minor. They be sleeping on Derek Minor. Shout out to Derek Minor, boy. And
Yeah,
Show
man,
Barack.
listen. I done emailed all y'all jokers. Show Baraka, Derek Minor, Trip, Lecrae. I done emailed all y'all. Y'all need to hit me back. 1K few, all y'all. Hit me back, man. I just want to sit and talk with you, man.
Right,
Fuck with
right, right. That'll be a good talk, especially Show
Yeah.
Barack though, bro. For
Shit,
real.
man. His album, The Narrative, is like top 5 to me, like all time. It don't matter what genre.
Yeah,
That album taught me so much, man, about history, period, about us, our plight. Uh, man, it's just the whole album. It's a masterpiece, bro. Like
yeah.
the things that he said on that album literally changed my outlook on life because I'm like, man, it's so like with that word, that song Words. I'm like, man, you know, we do so much talking. Bro, the stuff when you listen to the song, the things he said was just so profound. I'm like, man, we just be talking.
We just be
We
talking.
just be talking, man.
We
And
just be talking.
and literally everything we be saying don't be meaning nothing.
Don't
You
mean
know,
nothing. Don't mean nothing.
he said something about his father. I can't even think. But man, bro, the song was so powerful.
I believe. I don't think I've came across it yet, but I haven't heard. I haven't listened to Barack in a minute. But bro, just the name alone,
Bro.
them boys were coming out. I was like, bro, they
Man,
sleeping on
nothing
this
like it,
cat.
bro.
They sleeping on this cat show, Barack. Like he don't
Bro,
get much love, much play, but that boy right there,
bro.
him and
When
Derek
I tell
Minor.
you it, and then he got another song, and I think the next song after Words is a song called Fathers.
Oh, yeah,
Bro, you
I'm gonna go
man,
cop that
listen.
right now. I'm about to go. I'm gonna go look it up, get it on Spotify,
Man, bro,
play it every
listen.
morning.
I'm telling you because I know it's gonna be a treat for you, man. Go
Oh,
and listen to it. Really, the whole album that is called The Narrative, and then he had like a spin-off of the album called Pianos and Politics.
yeah,
Uh, right after The Narrative. But to me, those two albums go together. With those two, bro, it's like nothing out there. Like when I say it's a masterpiece, it's like you got to really listen to his words because like the beats aren't what you want to hear with all this. A lot of times, like with the high hats and all, you ain't gonna hear all that. Just
no.
listen to this man's words and his lyrics, and literally top 5. It don't matter. Tupac, you can put a little one, any of that, bro. That album is like a top 5 of all time to me because of the things he said. It's just like it's masterful, bro. I'm like, oh my god,
He's a wordsmith. He's a wordsmith. He can do it. Like I think his first 2 albums when he first came out, I was like, this dude's just words is just dynamite. Him, it was always him, Derek Minor, and then my other guy was always Flame too,
Flame. That's my
Flame,
dog.
Flame used to. I would be like, Flame, bro, what? Now, but Flame, and I do agree. Like Show Baraka, I don't listen to Show Baraka for beats. I listen for
Yeah,
him, what he about to say.
boy, he gonna drop some
Derek
heavy
Minor,
stuff.
and Flame. I listen for what they about to say because them boys spitting. I mean, Cray too, and all the other
Yeah.
ones, but they got the beats. But everybody else, I'm like those three. I want to hear what they got to say because them boys be saying some stuff. I'm like,
Man.
yes.
And most people listening to this podcast, y'all might be thinking, who are they even talking about? Bro, it's so rare when I find people that understands or even knows the type of people that I listen to. I'm like, man, listen, I gotta put you up on this real quick. Let me put you up on game. You know, one of my boys just got out of prison last year, And so me and him, I went and picked him up one day a couple months ago, and we were riding in the car, and I'm just playing some music or whatever. And he kind of caught on. He was like, bro, who is this? What is that? I was like, listen, bro, this just scratching the surface. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna send you some songs, bro. Bro, every song I play it for him, he like, bro, what is this? So, I ain't never heard no stuff like this. And I was playing him the stuff with the beats and all that. I know he gonna like that. And I'm like, but listen, it's some stuff I'm gonna send you. Don't listen for the beats.
Right.
Listen to what they're saying. Take it in.
Yeah.
Listen close. And man, he just over the last month, he like, man, bro, boy, you don't put me up on some stuff, bro. I'm like, I'm telling you, but most people don't. They won't even give it a try.
Nah, they won't. And it's a lot of them out.
So many, bro. So many. But man, I got one more question for you. I want you to if you could sit down like me and you are doing right now and give if you could sit down like me and you are doing right now with the 18-year-old version of Kerby and knowing everything that you know right now, and you had to give that young man one piece of advice going forward, what would you tell him?
Oh God, I did this too. I did this like months ago. Well, oh man, there's so much I do want to tell him too. A young 18-year-old, but the one thing I would tell him is, now at the point that I am in life and with the scheme of everything, I'll tell him two things. The first thing I'll tell him is make sure you put God first.
Yes, sir.
Got to. I struggled up and down with that. Grew up in the church and all that, but make sure you put God first. And then the second thing is, don't be afraid to fail. I think I got to a point where because I didn't know so much, I wasn't taught a lot. I was always, but even though I didn't have all the tools, I was almost kind of like the great black hope for my family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because as the firstborn, as the oldest child, as the first to graduate high school, it's like all the pressure was on me to be the one to succeed for everybody else. And I ran away from those things, and I ran away from those responsibilities. I felt like I couldn't mess up. And yet I still messed up, but I felt in my head I couldn't, but I kept messing up because I tried so hard not to mess up. I messed up. And I learned too much stuff the hard way, and it took me a long time to find who I was, because at 18 I didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't know anything about me. I just knew I was just a kid who want to get out this house and leave everything behind. So put God first and don't be afraid to fail. And at one point, I thought about what makes me happy and what makes me go, what makes, and they got to be for you to pour into somebody, for me to pour into my kids, for me to pour into my wife, to give all the stuff that I need to give them, I gotta have my stuff together too. You know what I'm saying? Because if I'm broken, I give them what brokenness. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm whole, I give them wholeness. You know, I give them, if I'm positive, I give them positivity. If I'm negative, I give them negative. You know what I'm saying? Because the Bible does say, you know, what you reap is what you sow. If I'm sowing, you know, alcoholism, which I battled with, if I'm sowing, you know, all this other, you know, crazy stuff, if I'm dealing with all these things, well, guess what? I'm going to sow into them those same things, and eventually, you know, that may be detrimental to them. So it took me a long time to learn how to just stop and, yeah, had to go therapy, counseling, and all of that, and you know, figure out why am I so, because I like you see me right now, like I'm in rage, like I'm in a good rage now, like,
Yeah.
but back then, like man, I'm ready to like explode, but now it's like I can control that and make it a positive experience instead of a negative experience. You know what I'm saying? You know, so, you know, seek God first and don't be afraid to fail, because failure, sometimes we make it seem like it's the worst thing ever, but really in failure, there's is where you can find who you are, what you are, and get to that point faster and quicker. So that, because I know starting this little pop YouTube thing, you failed a couple times before you got to where you need to
Yes,
be.
sir.
You know, so it's
Believe
not,
that.
you know, same thing with me and my, you know, writing, and me and, you know, doing all these things. And, you know, sometimes it, you know, I tell my students when I'm meeting with them at work, I tell them all the time, like, you know, you gonna struggle, you know, but learn how to, you know, decipher that real quick, learn from those mistakes, and then change the trajectory quicker. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to wait till you 35, 45 and you feel, now that nothing wrong with that, but the sooner you could have done that, the quicker you could have got to that trajectory that you were looking for. So seek God and make sure, in, you know, don't be afraid to fail, because it's all right. You'll get back up. You just got to get back up. Keep trying, keep pushing, keep moving. And at the end of the day, you know, whatever way your life takes you. Oh, and one last thing I'll say to my younger self, you know, accept the journey and enjoy it, whatever it may be. I think, you know, sometimes we want to look back like, damn, if I'd have made this choice or made that choice or made this mistake, like whatever that journey is, whatever God puts you, whatever path it is, accept it and enjoy it. Because I think when you realize that the that the path you're on is to help you grow, regardless if you wanted to go this way or that way, no matter the path. You know, there's an easy way, but there's a hard way. Usually you want the easy way, but even the hard way is going to teach you and grow. And you want to learn, be open to being um to wanting to mature. That's another key part. Just be open. A lot of us, we stuck in our ways, bro. You can't tell me not. You know, they big chest, whatever, you to me not, like,
Yeah.
be open to growth, to maturity, because that's the only way. You know what I'm saying? Through, that's the only way you get better. You don't get better as having that same mindset you had at 18. You know what I'm saying? I'm 40, like we said, I'm in 40. I'm like, right now, my mindset is not where it was at 30, 28, 29. To be completely honest, that when that 23 hit, I was like, this is the goal for this year. Boom, put that for the, you know, talk to the wife. Hey, this is our goal for this year. We got to make this happen. And that's completely a different mindset than where I was at 20, 30, or 25 or whatever. So, you know, but most importantly, put God first and don't be afraid to fail and accept what the journey brings. You know what I'm saying? Because if you can accept it, you'll be fine, because you're not looking at it as, damn, my life is effed up. You're looking at it like, man, I'm doing, you know, I'm learning something. There's a reason I'm going down this path. maybe it's a connection, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a person, whatever it is to help you become that person that God's trying to have you become. Because at the end of the day, it's what God needs you to be. Because we do this work because that's what God needs us to be. You know what I'm saying? That's what our voices are here for. And if we didn't listen to that, if we don't listen to that, if we don't grow into that maturity, it's not the same. So that's what I would tell my younger self. A million other things too, but
love that.
So that's what
man. I'm gonna leave y'all with this. Shout out to my man George Williams, aka 13th Disciple. He said this on one of his spoken words. He said, "A just man falls 7 times, but that doesn't make him a failure. The only failure is the man that falls and decides to not get back up." And I want to leave y'all with that right there. Don't be afraid to fail. Because you fall or you make a mistake or any of that stuff, that does not make you a failure. You become a failure when you decide to no longer get back up and try again. So, man, listen, Kerby, bruh, when we get off of this, please email me your phone number, man, so we can stay connected. I love to definitely get with you. My babies are 6, 7, and 9. They love playing with other kids, man. I love to get with you, man. We can take the kids to the park or something, and we can just get together and vibe out, man. And I live out here in Newberry, so but we love to come to town. And
so
definitely we got to get together, bro. So do that. And I appreciate you for coming on. Seriously.
I appreciate you having me, man. Appreciate it. And I will definitely hit me up. We'll definitely do another segment, whatever the case. I'm always available. Just hit me up and I'll get you going. Whatever you want from me, man. Like I said, we gotta have more of these positive podcasts about fatherhood, about being a dad and being a Black man in America and all this. Because, like I said, we gotta drown out the other negativity. Because if our voices are louder than theirs, then people are gonna listen and they're gonna be like, "Oh, that's real," And then, so that's what it takes. That's what it's gonna take. Us coming together, unifying, and making it happen. But yeah, man, thank you so much for having me.
Before you go, where can people find your book?
They can find it on Amazon or go to my website, www.mrkerby.com. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Mr. Kerby1 or Facebook at Mr. Kerby. Just type in Mr. Kerby, you're gonna find it. So you can connect with me that way. You can get my book on Amazon, like I said, or through my website. So yeah, and I'm also out doing stuff in the community, vending every now and then. So if you're in the Gainesville area, sometimes I'll be out doing things as well. So just go on my website or go to Amazon. You can find my book. And then that's about it. So, but more to come. This is only the beginning. So I got a lot of other stuff in store. I'll be definitely putting that stuff out there. So please, link us up, and please, if y'all ain't subscribed to Dad Can We Talk, please subscribe. Help this man out, because we got to help each other out, okay? Especially us Black fathers out there that's doing right, that's doing what we're supposed to. Let's drown out the noise, let's drown out the negativity, and let's unify together, and let's protect one another, because that's what it's all about. All right, support my man Anthony Ray and with his podcast. Please, please, please do that. All right.
For sure. And man, just like that, listen, y'all, it's Dad Can We Talk, episode 105. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I got some more great guests coming up. So y'all continue to stay tuned. Y'all go to dadcanwetalk.com. Y'all can find everything. Y'all can find some of the merch. Y'all see I got the Dad Can We Talk Scully hat on here. Got a shirt here. Y'all know it's all the merchandise is there on the website. And man, y'all continue to keep it pushing, man. Y'all go get my man book. Go follow my homeboy And we're gonna keep it pushing, man. Listen, it's Bad Can We Talk with Mr. Kerby, and we out of there. Peace.
Peace.
Take the